We'll call the meeting to order and have the secretary call the roll.
Mr. Fiddler.
Here.
Mr. Overland.
Here.
Mr. Love.
Here.
Mr. Burridge.
Here.
Mr. Huckabee.
Here.
Mr. Alexander.
Here.
Mr. Burgess.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Chairman declares a quorum present to conduct business, and the first thing we'd like to do is welcome Bob Peterson to the commission. He's probably got more experience than all of us, and we're going to act like we know more than he does for a few meetings, you know, to make him uncomfortable. No, we really appreciate your willingness to serve and welcome you to the commission.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Item 109 is approval of the minutes of the Transportation Commission meeting of August the 6th, 2018. And Bob, I'll warn you that we have electronic voting and it works most of the time. And I think it'll explain itself in a minute if the guys are keeping up with us. We'll entertain a motion for the approval.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. It's number 2, Bob. Motion passes, and it worked. A few people caught that. Not everybody did, though. Item 110 through 112 is the consent docket. Bob, what we generally do on this is vote on them all as one. If there's an item in here that any commissioner wants to discuss separately, we'll take it out by acclamation and discuss it separately. Otherwise, we'll hear a motion for the consent docket, which is item 110, 111, and 112.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Item 113 are the engineering contract supplements to be presented by Mr. Tiegler.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Item 113, the engineering contract supplements. I have 4 this month. Part A, and they all are statewide contracts. Part A is a statewide off-system bridge inspection agreement. This is with Circuit Engineering District Number 4 for $160,000. Part B, statewide as well. This is our on-demand airborne LiDAR mapping. This is with Bearing Tree Land Surveying for additional $500,000. Part C, statewide as well, on-demand engineering for ADA improvements. This is with Freeze and Nichols for $250,000. And finally, Part D, statewide as well, on-demand land surveying with White Hawk Engineering and Design for an additional $250,000. Approval is recommended, and I'll answer any questions if you have any.
You've heard the presentation for item 113A through D. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Tiegler. Item 114 is the change orders that are greater than or less than $75,000. Bob, it's an information-only item. As you were in your meeting this morning, we had another group of commissioners that went over the change orders, both the less and the greater than. If we had a question or a recommendation, we'd bring it up at this time. If no commissioner has a question about item 114, we'll move to item 115, which is the change orders greater than $75,000. Right now, it's appropriate to ask any questions on change orders less than. Hearing none, Mr. Leonard, please move to item 115.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'd like to present item 115, parts A through Y. These are the change orders on projects that have a cumulative change order value of greater than $75,000. Your approval is recommended, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
We had a thorough discussion of these items earlier.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
A second. Any discussion?
What was that big $500,000 number O? What's that all about? Brian?
This
Item
is
O.
the 235 project out here.
Right.
We've ran the police traffic surveillance on it.
$500,000
Yes, sir.
is the number.
Just didn't have sufficient quantities set up for it. And we maintain 2 OHP out there at all time. Sometimes I think we even had 3 out there.
$500,000.
Correct. We had 7,000 additional hours at $74 an hour.
Brian, you want to give further explanation?
Need to negotiate a little tougher with DPS, it sounds like to me.
Commissioner Love, that contract price is a non-negotiable price with the OHP. It is per contract that we negotiated with them previously. This will cover for the extent of the project. And it was needed because of the high volume of traffic and the speeds that are associated with it and the proximity of the work taking place.
Okay,
Just a function of math.
Yes, sir.
while you're up, what is kind of the schedule on that, driving up this
We-
morning, wondering?
Yes, sir. He's progressing really nicely. Alan is way ahead of schedule. We hope that, matter of fact, he's in the room with us today. But I would think that we would be complete sometime by the later end of the year. Is that correct? No comment.
He's also very smart.
We're way ahead of schedule right now, and we have been delayed quite a bit by the weather, and we have had some issues with some retaining walls with water behind them we had to address. But Allen Contracting's been doing an excellent job, and they've still got us ahead of schedule.
Great.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you for that further explanation. Any other questions? I can't remember if we had a motion, did we? And we had a second, and I asked anybody if they had any questions, but we can't vote till, there we go, now we can vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Ms. Helms is going to present the lettings.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Agenda item 116 consists of 2 items. Part A is for the final November 2018 bid opening, and Part B is for the tentative January 2019 bid opening. The department requests and recommend approval of this item.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Thank you. Item 117, Mr. Dels is going to make a presentation about the awards.
Morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, item 117 are our recommendations from the August 16th bid opening. It is recommended that the following items from that bid opening referred to by Calder be awarded. It's called as 400, 430, 440, 450, 460, 480, 495, 500, 505, 520, 540, 560, 570, and 590. This includes our recommendations for award. Your approval is requested.
You've heard the recommendation.
Motion approved.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Dels. Mr. Sheffert will present the presentation of the proposed CIRB 5-year county work plan 2019 through 2023. Sir, take your tie off before you take the podium.
Get that good on the camera there. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, it's good to see you. Commissioners, good to see you.
This is not a place for propaganda.
Presentation of the 5-year plan update for years 2019 to 2023. We have worked with our counties and circuit engineering districts to update our plan, bring together the current estimates and desires of the counties and circuit engineering districts on their plan here. Funding for this plan is out of the CIRB program, and we have, in this plan that you have in front of you here, I put the book on the horseshoe for you. We have $877 million worth of projects and improvements in this plan. There are 344 bridges in the plan, most of which are replacements, a few reconstructions, but mostly replacements. 39 of the bridges are continuing to utilize the crosstown bridge beams that we were able to surplus and give to the counties there. So that's still being utilized and well received. We also have 833 miles of road improvements in this plan here. So this includes design, right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and ultimately construction in this plan. At this time, we seek your approval for the update, the 5-year plan from 2019 to 2023. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Well, we appreciate all the work that you and your team's done and the counties have done. You know, we'd point out to everybody that this is not a plan that just happens overnight, that it's ongoing all the time and anytime. Appreciate the continued use of the recycle I-40 crosstown bridge beams. But if you're new or the first time hearing about the CIRB 5-year county work plan, you need to know that it is not something that's developed overnight. It takes many hours and a lot of people's work to come up with this plan every year.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion? Move to approve. Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. It has been approved, and again,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate all the hard work that's put
Thank you,
into
sir.
this. Item 119 is a asset preservation plan that Mr. Johnson's going to present, and it's another one of those plans, along with the 8-year construction work plan, that takes many hours and a lot of dedication and a lot of people's work. These don't just land on our desks without a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. In light of my predecessor's type, boomer sooner.
There you go.
Item 119 is a presentation of the department's asset preservation plan. The department has completed the plan with consideration for the critical needs of Oklahoma's transportation infrastructure and the financial constraint mandated by the projected federal and state funding availability. The work plan is balanced by district within the budgetary limitations of the state fiscal years 2019 through 2020. Compass projects have been defined, validated, and included in accordance with the transportation needs and priorities of the state. It's an informational item. Be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Goes through 2022.
Yes, sir, 2019 through 2022.
Any questions of Mr. Johnson? Thank you, sir. Item 120, he's going to present the 8-year construction work plan.
Item 120 is the 8-year construction work plan. Department has completed the proposed plan with consideration for the critical needs of the transportation infrastructure and financially constraint mandated by the federal and state availability. It is also balanced between each 8 divisions within the budgetary limitations of the fiscal years 19 through 26. Compass projects have been defined, validated, and included in accordance with the transportation needs of the priorities of the state. The department will ensure the long-term budget integrity of the plan and the continuity of the projects through active project management and project development and delivery process. Commission approval of the 19 through 2026 program is requested.
Thank you for that presentation. Also like to recognize the governor that just left earlier after dedicating the electric vehicle charging stations, 2 of them that are free, that just want to thank the governor, who has a few months left, can't serve anymore because of term limits, for supporting the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and being a great transportation governor and helping us try to maintain our 8-year construction work plan and helping us in a great way fix a lot of our bridges. And just, when you have someone that supports our mission as well as Governor Fallon did, we need to make sure that we tell her. Thank you, Governor Fallon. You've heard the presentation of the 8-year construction work plan. What's your pleasure?
Motion approved.
Have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We are ready for the director's report. Mr. Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Before I do my director's report, I would like to invite Darren Saliba to come up and give an introduction. From time to time, we experience one of our leadership retires from us, and we call them quitters. But in all reality, they've worked hard and they've done what they need to do. And Scott Sider was one of those leaders in the materials division. And so I'd ask Darren to come up and introduce our new materials engineer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, as the Director said, I have the opportunity and the pleasure to introduce our new Materials Division Engineer. He graduated from OU in 2006, and he's worked for the agency for over a decade. His previous job, he headed up the Structurals Lab in the Materials Division and worked on several of the big projects around the state of Oklahoma. He's a member of the Chi Epsilon Engineering Honor Society and is a member of a couple committees with AASHTO, the national organization that guides the agency in transportation-related items. It's with great pleasure, Commission, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Romero. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. I know Matt will do a great job leading the materials division. Since we have another guest with us, Director Gatz from the Turnpike Authority, and I thought it'd been a few months, actually more than a year, almost 2 years, I think, since you, as a commission, approved the activities of the Turnpike Authority relative to the Driving Forward program, where we're creating new roads in Oklahoma under the leadership of the Turnpike Authority. I thought it might be good if Director Gatz might update you a bit, because I know that I get questions virtually everywhere I go about what's going on there and what's going on here and when are they ever going to start. Trust me, they're started. Mr. Chairman, if I could, Director Gatz.
You bet.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the Driving Forward program is progressing very well. As Secretary Patterson points out, there is a tremendous amount of construction going on the projects that is really not visible. It's kind of off the beaten path, if you would. But we are majorly under construction. And by way of update, 2 of the projects that were part of the Driving Forward are completed now. The pavement reconstruction on the Bailey and the Muskogee turnpikes, along with modernization of 2 of our outdated toll plazas. Those projects are complete and open to traffic and have been very well received. The old style toll plazas were very much a safety concern for the Turnpike Authority, and we worked very well, and those projects are finished. Here in the Oklahoma City metropolitan area, the Southwest John Kilpatrick extension that'll connect Interstate 40 around to Highway 152 is all under contract with the exception of the toll plaza. We expect that project to be completed and open to traffic in late 2019, early 2020. That project is progressing on schedule. The Eastern Oklahoma County facility that'll connect Interstate 40 north to Interstate 44, 14 of the 18 construction contracts on that project are let to contract. There's a tremendous amount of earthwork going on, earth moving out there right now, along with the construction of drainage structures and bridges. That project is progressing on schedule. We expect it'll open sometime in 2020. And looking at the projects in Tulsa, the Turner Turnpike widening to 6 lanes, we have one section of that is substantially complete now. It's still pulled down to 4 lanes of traffic there on the west end because it's in between 2 construction projects. We expect sometime later this winter that about 8 miles of that on the west end will be open, so we will open that facility to the full 6 lanes. It's about 18 miles long, and the construction that's ongoing is progressing in accordance with schedule. We still have 2 contracts on the Turner that will be let to construction later in 2019. One is a section of main line going from where the creek interchange ties into the Turner, and it'll extend north ultimately to the interchange with Highway 66. That project is a joint project that we're working with the department and Randall White in Division 8 to improve the interchange with Highway 66, make that a much safer interchange. And again, those projects are under design right now and expected to be let to contract later in 2019. And then finally, the partnership project that has been a really, really interesting project to work on is the Gilcrease. And that 4.5 mile project started out as just a bridge over the Arkansas River as far as the Driving Forward program was concerned. And it has developed into a partnership between the department, OTA, Tulsa County, City of Tulsa, the NCOG area, and the Federal Highway Administration to construct that facility from the connection on Interstate 44, extending north across the river and connecting ultimately to Highway 412. That is an extremely important connection that'll serve West Tulsa, provide another Arkansas River crossing opportunity there between Interstate 244 and Highway 97, and really help with the Arkansas River barrier that's created on the west side of Tulsa. We're excited about that project. It's unique, and we're moving ahead with it. We are right now considering the statements of qualifications of folks that responded that want to be a partner in delivering that project. And again, if everything were to go in accordance with our best schedule expectation, we'd be able to put that project under construction sometime in the summer of 2019. So all of that said, the engineering companies and the construction contractors that have helped us with the Driving Forward program have done an absolutely exceptional job. We're very blessed to have those types of companies here in the state of Oklahoma that can help us with that type of work, and we're really right on schedule and progressing forward nicely. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Commissioner Love.
Tim, one thing that we need to figure out, or we need to be thinking about, is how are we going to communicate to primarily the through traffic? So you're a guy coming up from Dallas. How do you tell him that he can cut across on 240 and come up the new toll leg? And the same for that guy coming on I-40 eastbound. How do you tell him that he can now drop down on that, go by the airport, and not go through town?
It is a multifaceted approach that we're in, and part of that starts with traffic signing and making sure that we communicate with the traveling public as best we can. But that's also a conversation with some of the navigational aids and the companies that provide those services. So they offer those routes as alternatives to through traffic coming into the metropolitan area of Oklahoma City. That is an exceptional point. But we've already started some of those communications with Google Maps and Waze and other companies that are out there. But that'll be critical, that those alternative routes, whether you're talking about the JK2 on the west or the Eastern Oklahoma County facility on the east, that those are recognized and routable within those navigational tools.
Great, thank you.
Any further questions? Really appreciate that update.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you, Director Gatz. I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. You know, Tim talks about the partnership, and Tim and I are very proud that our two agencies are working so closely together, coordination, collaboration on these interchanges between these major highways, because we are making a difference in how the mobility and access here in Oklahoma, and certainly right now working on what's going to go on in Oklahoma City. The Gilcrease project is an interesting one, much like some of the other toll roads that we have today. The Gilcrease, I'll remind you, was first a concept of the Department of Transportation back in the early 60s, 61, 62, and we just never could get enough money together to put it. And so finally put together the team that Tim mentioned, and so we find ourselves on the cusp of bringing great transportation to the Tulsa metropolitan area also. So Tim, thank you for your update. I have a few things. Thank you again for approving the 8-year construction work plan. You know, it is something that's been around since 2003. It is our guiding light, so to speak. It is what we all work on. Within our 8-year plan, we're trying to achieve and maintain performance measures, i.e. the structural deficient bridges. I don't think we would be as far along on structurally deficient bridges had it not been for the fact that we had an 8-year construction work plan to keep us focused. It was the 8-year construction work plan that really provided confidence to decision leaders at the Capitol that the professionals at the Department of Transportation could focus on what needs to get done, when it needs to get done, and how it needs to get done. So the chairman talked about the governor's support. I want to thank you for your support. And chairman is right. It doesn't happen overnight. We don't just drop it. We've been working on this since late May, long hours, and you have been working on it with us. It's not that you just come in and look at it and approve it. You've had meetings with your division engineers. You afforded me an opportunity to sit down with you and go over your 8-year plan. So for that, I really appreciate all the support that you've given us in all the years, but particularly this one. This 8-year plan, unlike the last 2 years, you may recall the last 2 years I got up here and said, man, I can't believe we have a smaller 8-year plan than we did the year before. Obviously because of budget cuts, $872 million or something. I like to say 880, so I'll say $880 million since 2010. We had to reduce our 8-year plan. And when you think about $880 million, almost $900 million, that's the value of 1 year. We lost a year in the 8-year plan. You heard Shannon in your subcommittee meetings talking about the $130 million taken out of the CIRB program, $130 on $120 million annual revenue. They lost a year. But it doesn't diminish our resolve to keep moving forward. And in that note, we recently were notified that we have $72 million fourth quarter redistribution of federal funds. So that doesn't happen just by chance either. We have to have shovel-ready projects that we can show the Federal Highway Administration, the federal government, that we are ready to spend anything you can get us. $443 million of shovel-ready projects. Well, some of that's because, as I said, we lost a year. So we continue to design projects, get them ready for a day like $72 million. Now, the $72 million is not new money to us. The federal government gives us money and then only allows us to spend so much. Now they're allowing us to spend another 72 million. So we've got certain colors of money, certain pots of money. The 72 million will allow, budget authority will allow us to spend down the balance that we have. So we're really excited about that. The highest before this 72 million was 52 million. So it just shows that Oklahoma continues to be ready to spend anything anybody will bring us. You'll recall the ARA program. When President Obama came in, we were #1 in the country, projects ready to go. We got out front, stayed out front. We will continue to maintain that position. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for, I have to say it's slow too, electric vehicle charging stations. Thanks for participating in that event. I'm really excited about that. Dawn Sullivan, who's not here today, she's traveling, but she called me one day because she was touring the facility with New Spears Technology. New Spears is one of the partner groups that worked with us along with Pelco and Patco Electric, and certainly the Department of Transportation team in putting that location there free of charge. But it's an opportunity for us to begin to embrace, further continue to embrace new technology. You've seen us move bridges, you've seen us bring in new types of pavement, other kinds of new technologies, but now we're venturing in this arena because we think it's important when you talk about automobile manufacturers electrifying or bringing electricity to their fleet. We think the customers are going to need something. We think our constituency are going to need something. I think the governor was asked, well, who would use this facility? Well, I think starting out, it'll be the local people. You know, we charged in an OG&E car out there. I imagine the word is going to get out that that is there. But ultimately, it's going to show up on a map so someone crisscrossing this country can pull in and get a charge. Free of charge, as the chairman says. So we're excited. We just want to continue to embrace those kinds of technologies. I mentioned to you at the last commission meeting about driving Oklahoma, our working group looking at autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles. The battery went out. New technologies. So, how many times does it come down to a $1 battery? Driving Oklahoma, autonomous, connected vehicles, trucks that are linked together. Commissioner. So our working group had our second meeting last week. We're getting educated up. It's really exciting, the group of people that we have together. And in that discussion, we're talking about what the future of revenues are for transportation. Because at every turn, we talk about electric vehicles. When Uber presented to the group last week, talked about all the things Uber's doing, and one of the things is they're moving to electric vehicles. So how do you fund transportation if cars are electric? And 2/3 of our motor fuel tax comes from cars. Well, we're going to have to take a look at that. There's been a discussion at the Capitol the last 2 years about an annual fee for electric vehicles. Many states already have it. We're going to have to continue that discussion. But I do want to point out, I mentioned our partners that sponsored with us, but I really want to take a moment, and I'm going to put on my glasses, because I think we all learned something in this experience. I want to read the names of the ODOT folks that were, you know, when Don called me and I said, heck yeah, we want that charging station, and then Ken Phillips had to figure out how to put it in. I'm not sure Ken had ever seen an electric car station, charging station, but he's got experience at it now. But so Ken Phillips, Jared Swinson, Rick Remkus, Scott Graves, Bat Finch, Monica Henry, Craig Williams of Division 4, Trenton January of Division 4, Kevin Lowe here in the central office, and Brian Marcus of our sign shop. I can't, you know, it's exciting when people want to jump on a new project, something new. You don't see it every day, and that's what we've presented out here. So thank you for participating in that. Commissioner Huckabee, I don't know if you heard, but we got $1 million the other day in a grant for that Elk City interchange project. Congratulations. It was
Glad to get it.
There were a few grants handed out around the country, and for the innovation that we're bringing with the diverging diamond to Elk City, it's not a whole lot of money, but it shows the support that the federal government is giving to Oklahoma and others looking for innovative ideas. So we're excited about getting money, certainly, but we're excited for the recognition it gives us as well.
Absolutely.
And then my last item. You know, we often talk about distracted driving. Often it has to do with cell phone usage, but unfortunately, more often than that, it probably has something to do with texting. You know, we're doing things here like putting rumble strips on the edge, rumble strips in the middle, campaigns about work zone safety, anything we can do to kind of grab somebody's attention and change behavior. But the insurance commissioner, John Doak, has put together a program that when asked again, do you want to partner with us? Heck yeah. Absolutely. Buddy Combs is here from the commissioner's office. Buddy, thank you. Back here. Also joining us in the partnership is the Department of Public Safety, Oklahoma Highway Safety Office, and our forever partners, the Turnpike Authority. So we're following the lead of the insurance commissioner, and we're going to get serious about this. We've got to, you know, we can build great highways, but we need the people using the highways to use them correctly. So we have a couple of videos that we want you to see, again, in case you're asked, because we're going to be a partner on this. We want you to see these videos. So guys, in the back, here we go.
I've lost a dear friend of mine to a distracted driving accident. Senior in high school, life was just beginning. I mean, literally in the parking lot, leaving high school graduation, and a distracted driver hit her in that parking lot. Nothing, no text, no food, nothing is worth your life or someone else's life.
Distracted driving is dangerous and could raise your insurance rates. Don't risk it.
How many letters? 5 letters. Just think about, what am I doing right now? Smile. Smile? Uh-huh. This is so easy.
Commissioners, as you can see, it's going to grab some attention. We mean for it to grab attention. We have to change the dialogue in the state of Oklahoma, in this country, about distracted driving. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
That one's pretty tough.
It's tough. It means to be tough.
Well, I know the other commissioners will join me in congratulating you guys for being steadfast and not wavering from the task on distracted driving and workplace safety. It's been a long time initiative here at the department, and it's never going away, and we can never stop. We appreciate it. Anybody have a question of the director? Thank you. Bob, I know you've probably already been briefed on this, but probably one of the most important things is that there's a football on the east side of the building that has,
Didn't see that.
yes. And so at some point in time, you'll need to
Do I
declare.
have to touch it?
You're supposed to. You'll have to declare your allegiance. I can tell you there's a lot of people on the commission that go south. But there's a lot of people out there that go north.
Right.
We think they're all good people, but the ball's red and crimson and cream right now.
Got it.
Anything else come before the commission? If not, we'll have a motion to adjourn. Have a motion and a second. We'll vote and we'll be adjourned.